Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an introduction to directives in Angular. Now, this is going to be a very basic glance at how to use directives. So let's get started right now. So directives are a big part of Angular. Now, you've used directives already, even if you haven't realized it, even if we haven't necessarily said you're using a directive. If we even simply come to this home.html that we've been working with, you'll see a ton of directives in your view already. Even if I said you don't realize them, they might be hiding in plain sight. We have ng-click, ng-hide, ng-class, ng-repeat, ng-if. These are all directives. And they are all directives in a specific form of a directive. They are the directive that is being declared as an attribute on an element. So these are all being declared as an ng-hide attribute on a button or an ng-repeat on a list item. But directives can also be used in the form of actual elements. So you can write a directive that looks like something like hello world, just like you would any other HTML element. And this can be passed attributes, it can contain other custom elements. There's a lot of stuff here. You can also define a directive via a comment or even a class. Now, they do say that defining directives via a comment or a class are really just sort of in their legacy-wise, and that you should use the attribute or as an element. So those are the ones I'm going to be focusing on. In this particular video, we're going to create a hello world directive, and it's going to just output hello world before making this a little bit more complex and actually having a directive to contain functionality and pass in data and really just show you why you'd use them. So now, I mean, the Angular definition in their docs for directives says at a high level, directives are markers on a DOM element that tell AngularJS's HTML compiler to attach specific behavior to that DOM element. I mean, if you didn't know what a directive was, after that sentence, you may still not know. It just doesn't go ahead and say it. However, what a directive is, in its very most basic sort of understanding, is it's almost like a web component or a web element without it actually necessarily being one. So if you use something like Polymer, you've seen that you can create your own HTML elements via web components. Now, Angular version 1 at least does not use web components. However, you can think of directives as something very similar. Essentially, a directive allows you to create your own HTML element here, and you can use that element to attach functionality and all sorts of cool stuff, or you can just simply create a directive that is on an attribute itself instead of being its own element. And the same thing is when you use this ng-repeat, it's essentially telling Angular to do something. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our hello world before diving into too much of the crazy stuff. So let's just save this as is here. Let's head to our directory.js file that we had, and you can see we had our config, we had our controller, and at the end here we just have a semicolon. Now what we can do is just like we had .controller here, and in a larger application you'd want to break all this stuff out. But we can just say .directive. Now in here, we're going to give it a name. Now this name is going to be hello world. And notice how this is camel case. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, but this is important. So this is going to be camel cased, and yours should be as well. So let's type in function. Okay, so now we have the contents of our directive. Inside of our directive, we can just simply say return. If you spell it correctly, we can say return brackets. Now let's say template. And the template is going to be in quotes, just the words hello world, like so. That's it. At its very most basic, we're going to be able to use the hello world directive in our application, and it's just going to simply output the text hello world. So now we can come to our home page and we can say hello -world. So now this is where the camel case emphasis really needs to be stressed. If you'll notice when we're using this as an element or even as a property on an element, we are using a hyphenated syntax. Now, this is really the way that Angular prefers you do this now, is to have a hyphenated word like hello -world, and then in your directive to declare it in camel case. Now, there are some rules as to what will actually work here with this hyphenated being turned into camel case, whether or not you're actually using this syntax. However, for this first example, it's important to just stress that this is this way for a reason, and you should follow these same sort of guidelines. Okay, so we have hello world here in a camel case. We have hello world here with a hyphen, and we have hello world here with camel case. Let's come to our application. Let's refresh, and boom, we have hello world sitting right here. And anytime we want to go ahead and throw this hello world directive in our application like so, we can just paste it in here a whole bunch of times. Every single time, it's going to output hello world. Cool. So in the next video, we're going to be showing you a couple of more exciting, interesting things about directives before really getting into some cool functionality. What we're going to be doing is actually using the directive to have our individual person's name and age here. So check it out. We're going to get into the next video. As always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the video or hit me up at Twitter or Facebook at Level Up Tutorials. I love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.